The Russian AK-12 is actually a pretty well-known gun in the world, whether you play Fortnite or not. In the real-life version, it got designed in 2011, started being produced in 2018, and is still used to this day in the real world. Actually, at this current moment, with the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. And before we get into the differences between every single rarity that you can get of this gun, we gotta first go over the similarities. The fire rate, which is 4, the magazine size at 20. Every rarity gets an increased buff from its predecessor. The common version of the Ranger Assault Rifle, we're going to be looking at a damage per second of 124. The damage per shot will actually come out to 31, and the critical hit damage will come out to 46. The reload time will be 2.75 seconds. Going into the uncommon version of this gun, we're going to be looking at an increase from the 124 to a DPS of 128, with an overall damage of 32 per shot and the critical hit damage coming out to 48. The reload time will stoop below the 2.70, coming out to 2.62. For the rare version of this gun, we're going to be looking at a DPS of 136, a damage per shot at 34, with the critical hit damage at 51, and a reload time of 2.5 seconds flat. Now, what's very interesting about this AK-12 that we have here is normally we're seeing big buffs between the rare and the epic and an epic and a legendary. If you missed my video about the UTS-15, it actually had some weird buffs, and this one took a huge buff between the uncommon and rare and actually takes another good size buff, but not a gigantic buff going from rare to epic, which is just something we haven't seen in a lot of other weapons. Starting off with the epic version of the AK-12, we're looking at a DPS of 144, a damage to the body at 36, with a critical hit damage of 54, and a reload time of 2.37. Seeing only a slight buff between the epic and the legendary, something we don't see too often. Usually the epic and legendary have gigantic leaps between the two, but in this case, it doesn't have a huge jump. The DPS only goes up by 4 from its epic version, going to 148 damage per second, and the damage to the body at 37 per shot, with the critical hit damage at 55, and a reload time at 2.25 seconds. They did add a mythic version of this gun, actually takes a significant leap from its legendary version, making the DPS shoot way past the 150 mark, all the way to 156. The damage per shot goes up to 39, with a critical hit damage of 58, and a reload time of 2.12 seconds. Now, something I want to clarify, the reload time, even on the common version of this gun, is 2.75, which is actually a really quick time for an assault rifle to be able to reload. So even though it's a slow shooting gun and it's not made for close range, it can actually be really helpful in that medium range because of its reload time. You can use it as a good backup. Something else with the Ranger Assault Rifle that will make it even better for the medium range is actually the fact that it's a hit scan gun, which means as soon as you pull the trigger, the bullets will immediately be hitting the target, and it even has first shot accuracy enabled, which means that your first shot is more than likely to hit the designated target than any other shot that will be coming out of that barrel. Going into the damage fall off of this gun, we're looking at a damage fall off that begins at 50 meters. What will happen is, if we say for simple math that this gun does 10 damage, after 50 meters, that's when you're going to start seeing that damage start to decrease. So between the 50 meter mark and the 75 meter mark, you will see that damage decrease from the 10 damage that it can do all the way down to 9.5 damage. Its minimum amount of damage that it can do is actually at 90 meters out, which it will be able to do a flat 9 damage if the gun is doing an exact 10 body damage at its full 100%, which means this gun is very, very consistent at going for medium to long range gunfights, and can be a good backup for any other gun that you can snipe with and then be able to finish them with the Ranger Assault Rifle. If you're somebody that likes to play long range, carrying this gun actually with a sniper of some kind can be really, really useful in your inventory, because that way you can hit a hard hitting shot with the sniper and quickly finish them off with the Ranger Assault Rifle. And even if you're missing some shots shots, you still have a quick reload time that you should be able to down, if not finish the player at a longer distance. That's why I say you're possibly sleeping on this gun because you're not using it properly necessarily. If you were to use this gun for those medium to long range gunfights, you will see that it's one of the best guns in this game. This gun has struggled though when it first came out, being too weak. So Epic Games has buffed it a few times throughout season 1 and has not buffed it since. Let me know if these stats change your mind